Zhao Yi shook his head. Rather than saying it can't find a place to go, it's better to say it's guarding the entrance. The monsters in the base are so terrible. They are a fighting force comparable to a small army. Ordinary threats are not a threat to them at all. The only thing that can threaten them is a curse. Yang Linlin was shocked. I think the black shadow outside, guarding the shaft mouth, is trying to prevent these things from entering the experimental base. It is protecting the monsters in this experimental base. Yang Linlin swallowed. Are those ghosts more terrifying than the monsters below? Zhao Yi said seriously. In theory, yes. And it is much more terrifying than the monsters in the experimental base. For example, the owner of this human fur coat, its combat power is not high, and it has fatal weaknesses. But those ghosts, it's hard to say. Zhao Yi quickly took out the keynote from earlier, spread it on the table, and pointed to a line of words. Look, the mayor of Cydia asked the experimenters to withdraw from the Shishin experimental base directly with the data, and they will find a way to help destroy everything here. Yang Linlin covered her mouth, her eyes showing horror. You mean, this curse is also man-made? The purpose is to erase everything here. Zhao Yi nodded slowly, his face showing more and more weird excitement. Yang Linlin, who was standing aside, saw his weird expression and couldn't help but take a half step back. The mayor of Cydia and his group want to destroy everything about the experimental base and Shishin High School through the curse, while the rioting experimental subject X2 in the experimental base wants to preserve everything. It obviously has self-awareness. This is a good thing for us, after all. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. If we can communicate with it properly, we may be able to get key information about the curse from it, and even help us take a shortcut to complete the side quest. Yang Linlin was silent for a while, then suddenly stretched out her hand to touch Zhao Yi's forehead, muttering to herself, "You don't have a fever. Why are you talking nonsense today?" Zhao Yi rolled his eyes and slapped her hand away. "You really have no imagination." Yang Linlin pouted, put her hands on her hips, and said seriously, "This is not a problem of imagination. You've seen how dangerous that guy outside is. It kills people as soon as it meets them, and it's so fast. Let alone communication. You can't even finish introducing yourself." Zhao Yi was speechless. "Who told you I want to communicate with that thing?" The two waited in the laboratory for a long time. Zhao Yi kept paying attention to the time display on the instrument. At about 2 a.m., all the experimental subjects left the cafeteria and returned to their own experimental cabins. Apparently, they had already regarded that place as their territory. Zhao Yi observed for another 10 minutes. On the door, it was written X2. Sure enough, behind this door is the experimental cabin where the most powerful experimental subject is. No wonder the other monsters during the day are reluctant to approach here. They have a sense of territory, so they should be afraid that X2 will attack them, right? Zhao Yi touched his chin and talked to himself. Then he pushed the door open. The scene inside the door made Yang Linlin and many viewers in the live broadcast room scalps numb. In front of the two of them was a giant jar filled with transparent green liquid. Inside the jar, there was a human-shaped neural and vascular network, densely packed. At the top of the nerves, the brain and many needles were connected. The impact of this scene was huge. It was far more terrifying than the blood and flesh. This is... Yang Linlin's eyes widened, pointing at the giant jar, unable to speak at all. Zhao Yi touched his chin and said with admiration, "This thing is really a work of art." The bones and most of the flesh and blood were stripped off, leaving only the most important blood vessels and nerves. Using nutrient solution and a suitable environment to maintain the activity of its cells, and allowing external stimulation to replace the heart to complete the circulation, all the energy is delivered to the brain. Among the patients I knew before, only one person could complete this full nerve stripping operation. What kind of people are Zhao Yi's patients? He is not bragging, is he? How can such an operation be completed in real life? I graduated from Sichuan X College. I can tell you responsibly that this operation can also be completed in real life, but the college only uses cadavers and has not used living people for experiments. Indeed, I am also a surgeon and have been practicing medicine for 23 years. For this level of nerve stripping, anesthesia has no effect at all. The process is almost completed when the patient is awake. It is too cruel. This is too inhumane. Yang Linlin approached the culture tank carefully and couldn't help shuddering. These nutrient solutions and machines are extremely expensive. There is no need for those crazy researchers to spend so much time on a dead person. Yang Linlin turned her face with a stiff expression. This thing in the tank is actually still alive. What would it feel like now? Cold, pain, despair. Zhao Yi came to the experimental table on the other side. There was a notebook on it, recording the relevant experimental process. He glanced at it roughly. It was nothing more